This video is about the death of Muhammed Ali and how the white power structure are mocking him. How I am being fumed in my room and in my car, and I've proven that in my extremely damning videos playlist, as well as I've proven that gang stalking is well known. Even the police themselves have admitted it exists, and it is quite common on the news. Not too far from where I live, about an hour or so, in Santa Cruz. A lieutenant of the Santa Cruz Police Department nonetheless. Now, isn't it ironic that the same people who historically have gang stalked people, whether it was the KKK or COINTELPRO or MK Ultra, white people, white supremacists, and their white Jewish allies on the top level to maintain white and white Jewish power, the same way the white supremacists and the rich white elitists in the Republican and Democratic parties collaborate with AIPAC and Israel, dispensationalism, Christian Zionism, okay, and the secret society support of Zionism, atheists, feminists, LGBT, Satanists, what have you. And, obviously criminals, the criminal network and how it connects to the Jewish mafia, the Italian mafia, and the Irish mob. So you see in this comment that this guy's pretending that gang stalking doesn't exist. This is a comment I received this morning. It may have been last night. I don't remember. And he's saying, look, you're right about everything except for, making white people look bad, which is basically the gang stalking. And he's saying nobody's drugging you. How could he possibly know that? He says two things that he's wrong about, that I've proven that are happening, that I've proven in my videos, and he's hiding behind psychiatry and white social norms. And this has been going on. I've been getting these kind of comments, since my top martial artist challenge. They're hiding behind mainstream misconceptions, people's ignorance, and white social norms.
Forward a little bit, hoping not to hurt any camera angle. I mean, you gotta put the whole hip into it and snap it and get it. I mean, you gotta put the whole hip in. Coward.
This video is about how mainstream misconceptions are very counterintuitive. They're very illogical. For example, if I showed you a picture of a cop's face and shoulders, a cop that was on duty in South Central LA, and I said, that's a cop, and it's safe to say that since he's on duty, that he has a gun on him. If white people thought it was not in their best interest, they would say, that doesn't necessarily mean he has a gun on him. If you get my drift. It's for the same reason that when you see the Ghetto Informant program, which almost entirely consists of black people, it is safe to say that there are also a lot of racist white people on the government's payroll that are tasked with keeping the black man down in a rather odious manner. With that being said, it brings me to my next picture. You see, this is a picture of Ali, right? And it's a very respectable picture. This was a response to the next picture I'm going to show you in about 2 minutes. Okay? And this picture, it talks about how Ali's a righteous person, how he was oppressed by the police just like Hurricane Carter. So we see a history, of this oppression of blacks, especially blacks who might potentially attain a certain amount of reverent power over the black community that are doing things in a way that does not support the financial interests of the Jewish internationalists and the white power structure and their cultural imperialism. Pretty straightforward. I don't think any of us could possibly disagree. So now here's this other picture I'm showing you. This is a picture of a white-skinned person who is mocking Muhammad Ali and trying to make it seem that some European, I don't know what kind of European that person is. Maybe he's a bare-knuckle boxer from Western Europe. Maybe he's, I don't know. But they're trying to say, well, Ali's a dancing monkey and the guy's not impressed. Well, then why couldn't white people beat him in the ring? It reminds me, I can't help but be reminded of my top martial artist challenge. All these white trolls in the comments. You know, they always have something smart to say that never really makes any sense. Well, why couldn't you beat me? Why couldn't you beat Ali? What is your problem with giving the black man his credit? Or is it just that these people are uncontrolled opposition? Is your problem really with giving the uncontrolled opposition their credit? What is your problem with us? Why do you treat us in such a way? For most of you who are new to this concept, I'm going to introduce to you something that you think that you understand. I'm going to introduce you to something that you think you understand, but I assure you that you do not. It is called oppression. You see, the way this concept works isn't just that you make a half-ass effort to keep people poor. It is the careful analysis of an individual or group and the resulting scientific postulations and theories. Theories and postulates, rather. And then you start to experiment on that group. You know, kind of like projects in the ghetto, programs, experiments, sort of like MK Ultra, which incorporated aspects of the mafia as well, because part of the purpose of MK Ultra was to find something they can use to control Castro. Okay? And so the mafia was also tapped to help them assassinate Castro, and the CIA came up with all sorts of things, and I've gone over this in videos in the past, even putting arsenic or some poison in his cigar, going back to the cigarettes and COINTELPRO. Alright, so now there's another aspect of oppression that always accompanies oppression, and that is mocking the people who are trying to expose it as uncontrolled opposition, and in turn the controlled opposition as well to provide them cover, and also playing stupid about it. As you see this comment where this guy says that the beans in his household, you know, there's a meme saying that the beans in the household are a COINTELPRO operation to make the person fart. And many immature white people will play stupid. But the moment that these unscrupulous European Americans think that something is in their best interest, they'll say things along the lines of, oh, come on, bro, we all know how it works. I mean, come on. That type of stuff. Now, my question to all my white viewers especially
is if white people didn't want to go down in history as oppressors, then why do they so blatantly oppress people? If these are not mainstream white social norms, why do they scream that they are? And how many of you think that there was only 7,000 people involved in the oppression of black movements, and that they all just happen to be black? That is like saying that everybody involved in slavery was an Uncle Tom or a house Negro. There was nobody financing the slave ships, nobody writing the legislation, nobody who owned the homes, no whites charged with teaming up with blacks to hunt down other blacks. So I think we all understand the key points of this video, but I'm going to spell it out for you regardless. You do not just see the signs of oppression, oppressors, and social control being applied on the top martial artists, but we have seen this consistently throughout American history without a pause, without a break. This has consistently continued throughout American history. To say that I am not a victim of a psyop, and to say that these things happened and ended in the 70s, is akin to saying that people no longer wave flags in America. That was something that happened during the Civil War. They stopped doing that, after the Civil War. I mean, it is that ridiculous. You gotta wonder, what kind of a people is so greedy that they do not care that they go down in history as racist oppressors whose activities mimic, if not downright emulate, satanic ritual abuse? What kind of a people thinks that that is okay? Now, I am not absolving all the other races who are contributing into the New World Order. But what I do see is when I go into most groups, it is white people who are being the trolls. Rest assured that there are also blacks and Hispanics and Asians involved. But the vast majority of these oppressors are white. And I would venture to say that because it is the white power structure ultimately doing this, that it is easier for them to recruit whites who are already in secret societies, law enforcement, the military, mental health, etc. And that in order for them to recruit non-whites, they have to impress upon them a certain level of white culture. Furthermore, I would venture to say that all mainstream American cultures and subcultures are white influenced. And I'll end by saying this: the rites of passage, the rites of manhood. How many African Americans go through manhood rituals and rites? I wonder. Are they taught to be a man in the traditional African manner and then go on to be, to fulfill their role as a good Christian? Or are they taught Western, Roman, Judeo subcultures of Satanism that include gangbanging, Satanism itself, of course, criminality, gangbanging, being a thug, They're taught to be a thug. They're initiated into a gang. They're brought into mainstream culture at school and through watching TV and through their friends and neighbors. Feminism. That's why we see so many very outspoken, aggressive females trying to be like men, trying to be players, trying to play guys for money, trying to do things that are historically associated with black male thugs and black males of the underclass, from the underprivileged classes, if you will. LGBT philosophies, which are impressed upon black people through the Bay Area, which is a center for propagating controlled black cultures, whether they are the Black Panther culture, which was heavily influenced by communism, which came from German Jews, Ashkenazi Jews, Marx, Engels, and were brought to Russia. So these are European philosophies that were then impressed upon African Americans in the Bay Area across the bridge from San Francisco in a little place called Oakland. And of course the MK Ultra, one of the main people doing it were from San Francisco, Operation Midnight Climax in San Francisco, the FBI's headquarters in Northern California, San Francisco, the Grand Lodge of Masonry, San Francisco, the major feminism and LGBT centers in San Francisco, and then of course you have Berkeley and what have you. Atheism, again, which is pretty much goes hand in hand with communism and mental health. These things are Western culture. Psychology was is a branch of philosophy, and we're talking Western philosophy. Johann Christian Rell coined the term psychiatry, not Shaka Zulu or, Menes the First. Going on, racism and eugenics. Again, these are Western ideas. Francis Galton coined the term eugenics, not Nelson Mandela. But even if it was Mandela, well, he was in a communist party, going back to Western philosophies. So I'll end this by saying the only answer to this is to give black people back their manhood rights and to teach them, to further condition them in a positive way to be men through the systems of Christianity, but not from a Eurocentric perspective of Christianity, but from a rather universal perspective of Christianity. So therefore you have the black man's culture and you have the superior religion as part of their conditioning. Thank you.
My chest too, it's your room. I think you should go to Oakley's and let me see the photo. Oakley's room's a lot better. Maybe you should just move out and take the other room. And keep that room for, I don't know, but don't sleep in there for God's sakes. Because that room's just horrible. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Something wrong with it. I don't know what it is. I can't see like that. It could be some mold hidden under, hidden somewhere. It could be, I don't know. Because whatever it is, it's not smelly.
In case you're wondering, I took another oath. And that's just this picture you see on the wall. Basically, number one, never to sell out. I will never change my mind about the things on my wall. The things that I talk about, I'll always be a Christian, always be against the spiritual bottom feeders, the 7 groups that need spiritual help that feminism promotes, the 7 groups of spiritually challenged, and so on and so forth. Number 2, I will never settle for any woman that is not a 9 or a 10, and that's just going on a date and, flirting. So if someone catfishes me, I'll probably figure it out, but if I don't, that's not really breaking my oath, because, I'll never consciously settle. Number 3, I'll never let anyone else convince me to take down my videos. Number 4, I will keep the oath I made, it was last year. I think it was last year in December. I think that's when I made the oath. Of no sex, no romantic relationships, and more. Number 5, I'll never give up the revolution, and the revolution as defined by the things I talk about, the things on my wall. Number 6, which is something they try to harass me about, the same way I've shown you in the clip before this, that they still don't even want to give Ali his credit, you know, and they try to set Hurricane Carter up and countless other black fighters and martial artists and warriors and athletes and what have you. But I will never pretend that I am not the top martial artist, because so help me God, in America I am the best, and no one has ever done what I have accomplished, and I am almost 100% sure that no one ever will. And on that note, I would like to add that my top martial arts challenge was well thought out. Transferable skills without fighting to the death. And for those of you who do not understand, there are rules in competition fighting. MMA, boxing, UFC, what have you. Bruce Lee talked about this as well. These rules do not exist in actual combat. The transferable skills reign supreme. Not only are there weapons you can grab, but if you used unarmed combat, you can gouge out their eyes. You can strike them in the spinal cord in a place which is very vulnerable and paralyze them. You can flatten their nose. You can rip out their groins. You can target their internal organs. Now, only a complete madman and a fool who is certainly headed either to the grave or prison would say, well, I'm going to challenge people to a fight to the death. So it's really either a competition with rules, which defeats the purpose of showing who's the best, or we have some sort of a sparring competition that shows transferable skills. You know, if I can gouge out your eye, I've got the upper hand. If I can get them both at the same time with one hand, two hands, I've got the upper hand. If I can strike you in the groin with enough force to break a stack of bricks, need I explain to you how it's probably over for you? You're probably going to finish you off in no time. If I chop your neck, you know, which by the way is illegal in California, it's a felony, because to hit the neck with a small surface area, you know, such as your chop or your forearm, okay, or you know the knife edge of your karate chop, you know, or taekwondo slice, is very likely to paralyze somebody. Okay, so when you're looking at transferable skills, yes, you know, these UFC guys, I would fucking kill them in very short amount of time. And I don't think I need to explain to you anymore why it doesn't make any sense for me to demonstrate that. But I will tell you this. If you are really itching to figure it out, go ahead and try to approach me on the streets. I guarantee you, anyone who tries to confront me on the streets thinking that I'm some kind of bitch that just likes to fight people and catch fades, I'm going to fucking kill you. You know, you try to throw a punch, I'm going to block it, I'm going to paralyze you, I'm going to rip out your fucking eyeballs, I'm going to rip out your trachea, I'm going to break your fucking neck, I'm going to bash your spine, I'm going to fucking rip out your fucking balls and stuff them in your motherfucking mouth.